Hello, Internet. This is Ravenspire bringing you my personal opinions and takes on Nintendo's latest entry in a long-awaited mainline sequel to one of their oldest series, Metroid Dread. It has almost been 19 years since the last entry in the mainline Metroid series, with the last title coming out in November of 2002 with Metroid 4 Fusion. To give perspective on how long it has been since we've had a proper sequel, there are people who were born and went to college in the time between the last entry. While Metroid itself has had multiple spin-off titles such as the Prime series, Pinball, and of course the much maligned Other M, many fans of the series, including myself, have been starved for a new entry in the side-scrolling saga of our favorite bounty hunter, Samus Aran. Our interest in the further adventures of this titular character has been high, and only became stronger with whispers of new titles and peaking higher when we saw the Chozo memories unlocked from the Samus Returns remake. My own personal journey with Metroid started as a kid in the 80s when I played the original on the NES. And of course, my young mind couldn't figure out the intricacies and sheer level of exploration that would be needed to venture forth in the world of Zebes. So, like many other kids, I cheated and used the infamous Justin Bailey code and started my adventure with a heavily stocked Samus. However, as I learned the game and what it demanded of me, soon I was able to start fresh and finish the game on my own. I later was able to play Metroid 2 Return of Samus on an original gray brick Game Boy thanks to my friend. Despite he would never actually play the game, I was able to beat it, and even on my first playthrough got it under 3 hours to get the best ending. I think it was sheer determination that got me through the game, as the tiny screen and monochrome coloring just made playing that game very difficult, but I was pleased with my accomplishment. Then, of course, the next entry to show up, and the one most cemented in every Metroid fan's mind, Metroid 3, also known as Super Metroid. This introduced new mechanics along with the more powerful hardware of the SNES, as the greater scope of control and ability to utilize Samus' skills to their maximum created new avenues of play. I loved that game so much that I would replay it regularly. There's a reason why many people still cherish and play this game to this day. When Metroid Prime came about, I had to try it, and I loved it, though playing Samus from her perspective took me time to get used to. Prime 2 I dabbled in, but the light and dark aspect of the game didn't sit with me well, and I was growing into a phase of my life where I didn't get the game as much as I would have liked. I did try Metroid Prime 3 Corruption, but the linear gameplay never stuck with me, and I never got much past the first Ridley encounter. I can't remember exactly when I put it down, I just for some reason did and never finished it. And make no mistake, it wasn't the motion controls, I just didn't feel that Metroid vibe from Prime 3. Sadly, Prime 3 would be my last venture into the Metroid franchise. I didn't own any of the handhelds like a Game Boy Advance to play Metroid Fusion or any of the other Prime titles. I just didn't get a lot of games on my Wii. That Other M pretty much flew under my radar. I wish I had a 3DS to be able to play Samus Returns, but I don't. I have since watched playthroughs so I could be up to date, just to taste the experience, hoping Nintendo will re-release them on the Switch. Needless to say, when I saw Prime 4 was in development, I was like everyone else, blown away and ecstatic that a new Metroid was coming. But nothing prepared me for this year when they announced Dread, and I instantly knew I was going to get that game, as I was no longer going to stay on the sidelines with the Metroid saga. I won't bore you with the details, but now everyone knows the story that Dread has been in development hell for 16 years, and how many fans thought it was a dead title. That's not what we're here to talk about. We are here to answer a very simple question. Is Metroid Dread good? The short answer is yes. This is a game that has shown its growth over the years, evolving the mechanics, adapting with the times and control styles, and learning from the missteps it has taken along the way. Metroid Dread is a beautifully gorgeous game to behold, with its atmospheric environments that can be both awe-inspiring as well as alien and grotesque, with a variety of enemies that offer different challenges. Add to this a wonderful musical score and good sound, and you have an experience that sticks with you and delivers punch. As a direct sequel to Fusion, Samus Aran once again shows she has not fully recovered her full strength, as can be seen in the design of her power suit, and like Fusion, Samus is not as sturdy as she was in previous titles, needing to be more cautious or more efficient to battle her way through the variety of enemies. The controls of Samus are tight and reminiscent of Fusion, but also mixed with her moveset from Samus Returns as well. Holding the R button lets you shoot missiles, while holding the L enters into aim mode where you can manually aim in 360 degrees around Samus. She also possesses a slide move that is performed by hitting the ZL button, and the wall jump is back and fairly easy to engage by just pressing towards the wall and hitting the jump button. You will have to hit another wall to wall jump again, as you can't climb walls like you could in Super Metroid if you mastered the wall jump there. Also making a return is a counterattack move that made its debut in Samus Returns. Enemies will have a telling spark that indicates the attack can be countered, allowing Samus to one-shot most after the counter. If you pull this off successfully, much like glory kills in Doom, Samus will be rewarded with extra health and ammo pickups to keep her supplied. But not all enemies have a set attack pattern that makes this easy to use, and just randomly wailing on the counter button will not work in your favor. However, since this move can be used while on the move, pros will undoubtedly be able to perform some sick combos with counters and blast attacks. Metroid Dread also has some voice acting with the story that explains the events of ZDR and even some enlightenment into SR388. It is delivered in a style similar to Fusion in this way, but it's less linear than Fusion with a bit more backtracking. I won't spoil the story much past that, but as a long-term fan, I have been pleased with what I've discovered so far. Many of these cutscenes can also be skipped by pushing the plus button followed by the minus button on the controller for those instances you find yourself having to repeat sections as well, making for a nice quality of life feature. Now, the part of the game that gives Dread its title is the major enemies you have to face, the Emmy. Thankfully, you won't run across these enemies outside of their specific zones, which are easily identified by the digitized doorways that you must enter. While in these zones, a desaturation filter is on that has a grainy film to it, letting you know there is still an Emmy present in the area. These areas of the game are nerve-wracking and tense. It's like the sections of hiding from or outright avoiding the SAX from the previous game, but taken to a new level. It is almost a puzzle in themselves as you try to stealth past or outrun these enemies to survive to reach the next section, as unlike the SAX, if they catch you, you are dead. Thankfully, Metroid Dread has a very generous checkpoint system, as you will never be put back so far in your adventure to want to throw a controller in frustration. I only have a couple of major complaints about Dread. One of those being a lack of options menu, as I had intended to use my GameCube Pro controller, but with the inability to remap buttons, playing it with that controller would have been too awkward. My other complaint is the awkward way the speed booster is used in this game, where you have to push the thumbstick in while moving in order to engage it, which can make it awkward for some of the more interesting puzzles Metroid is known for. But with all the face buttons and shoulder buttons already being used for something, it is understandable they had to use other options. Most of my other problems are my own, as I try to shake off years of rest after having not used a controller for so long. Being used to a keyboard and mouse for gaming, it has taken me some time to get the muscle memory in order to use my moves correctly. Using the wrong moves at the wrong moments can be costly, and split-second decisions in the game can mean the difference between success and a quick trip to the last checkpoint. Overall, I'm very happy with Metroid Dread. It is an evolution of the Metroid title I've always wanted, and something I've desired to see for a very long time. I personally think if you're a Metroid fan, you probably already picked up this title, and if you were curious, you should definitely pick this up. It is more than worth it as a starting off point, as you don't need to know the history of the game to be caught up, as Dread is kind enough to fill you in on the major plot points. I hope this review of Metroid Dread has helped you, and if you like my content, please show your support by liking and subscribing. You can follow me over on Twitch as I stream a variety of games there, including New World, Satisfactory, and other titles that catch my interest. Links can be found in the description below. Until the next time, happy hunting!